All right, so section 2.5, this is currency conversions. One thing I thought was neat about this section was just hearing what some of the different currencies are called and seeing some of the different symbols. You might look at this section in your book, actually look at it in the book. There's some pictures. They have, I don't remember which book, because I looked at several of them. If this is just a group shot, maybe even just kind of Google some of the different currency to see what it looks like. So obviously different countries have different currencies, and each currency has its own value. Since each currency has to import and export goods, and people travel obviously between countries, you need to have exchange rates between those different currencies. These exchange rates are often given to you in a table, so that's one thing you'll have to be used to is how to read the table. If two currencies are compared, the value of one currency is given in the units of the other. So this table right here, we have exchange rates between U.S. dollars, Great Britain pounds, sterling, and the Japanese yen. So you can see those symbols there. Now, one thing you'll notice is that some symbols go at the beginning of the amount of money, some go at the end. We'll talk about this later with the euro. The euro obviously is a measure that is used for many European countries, and those European countries before the euro had their own currencies. So from what I can find out with that symbol, if the country before put the symbol before, then that's where they put the euro symbol. If before the country put their symbol after the amount, then that's where they put their euro symbol. So if you see different places where one's in front and one's after, that may depend on the country, or it could just be a typo. So first of all, the table that we've got here, to use this table, you're going to find the currency that you have on the left and move to the column of the currency that you want. So if we're dealing with, let's say, pounds, okay, and we want to know what that would be in U.S. dollars, there is one Great Britain pound for every $1.96. And with the yen, 229.3. So if we wanted to know how much 800 Great Britain pounds would be, we can just multiply those conversions times 800. This is for one Great Britain. We want 800. So if I take 800 times the $1.96, I get 1568, and then the yen, I would get 183,440. Now you could also set up a proportion. So for example, for the dollars, I could say there is one Great Britain pound for every $1.96. So if I have 800 Great Britain pounds, how many dollars is that going to be? And of course, an X would probably be easier there. We can cross multiply and we can solve, and you'll end up with the exact same answer. So I'm not really doing them that way. Your book doesn't really do it that way, but by all means, if you like that way, do it that way. Okay. Now, if you need to know something that is not, well, let's say it's not in a table. In this case, I can go easily back and forth between Great Britain pounds and U.S. dollars and Japanese yen and so on. But what if they had just told me, hey, one Great Britain pound is equal to $1.96? What if I wanted to go from U.S. dollars to Great Britain pounds? Well, again, I could do a proportion, or we can find out what the conversion rate is in the other direction. So you would do that just by doing the reciprocal. To go from one U.S. dollar to one Great Britain pound, I'm going to do the reciprocal of that exchange rate. So one U.S. dollar is equal to 0.510 Great Britain pounds. Okay, so an example, we have one Brazilian real, which is abbreviated BRL. That's equal to 3.984 South African rands. So how many Brazilian reals does it cost to purchase 500 South African rands? So in this case, they told me how many rands are in a real. I need to know the other direction. So we can do one South African rand would be equal to 1 over 3.984. Which is 0.251 Brazilian reals. So if I have 500 of my South African rands, I'm just going to take 500 now times that conversion, and we end up with 125.50. Didn't have a symbol for the the Brazilian and the South African currency there. So we're just going to write those letters out to the side. Now, one thing about giving money, if the money comes out to be an exact number, that's great. Otherwise, give 2 decimal places just like you would in America. You will be counted off on the exam if you do not do that. So really it's 0.5, but you don't write 0.5 with money, you write 0.50. Now again, if you wanted to do that with a proportion, let me just kind of show you here actually what that would look like. So we have 1 Brazilian real to 3.984 of the ZARs, and I want 500, sorry, that looks like an 800. I want 500 of the ZARs, but I don't know how many of the Brazilian money that's going to be. So at this point, you can drop out all the letters, and you would have 1 over 3.984 is equal to x over 500. You end up doing the exact same arithmetic that we did, and you get the same answer. So again, I don't care if you like the proportion better, go ahead and do that. So one part of this lesson is actually doing conversions, just straight conversions. The rest of it is talking about actually buying and selling currency. So this is something that might seem kind of weird to you, but if you want to go to another country, you're going to have to buy some of their currency. And then when you leave that country, if you want your money back, you're going to have to sell some of your currency. So this is something that when you travel, you can find these places just on the street. You can, of course, do it at a bank. You can do it at a lot of places like the airport, the train station, or they'll be nearby those places. So there's 2 ways that this can work. In this case, this first one here, we have a table. Currency broker are earning money by selling currency for more than they pay for it. They often charge an additional commission fee, which we'll look at here in a minute, which is taken out of the customer's of the money that the customer wants to convert. So this particular table right here, if you have a U.S. dollar, so notice all these prices right here are in pounds. So let's say that you are in Great Britain and you have some U.S. dollars that you want to convert. So when you give them those U.S. dollars, they're going to buy them from you for 0.48 pounds. Now, we up here, okay, we found out that 1 U.S. dollar was 0.51 Great Britain pounds. So you can see they're buying it from you for less than really what it's worth. But you don't necessarily have a choice. You need that money. Now, these rates, I should also mention, in case you didn't know this, they change constantly. So every day, the dollar might be worth more, the dollar might be worth less. Now, the selling price, when you go to leave Great Britain and you want your dollars back, they're going to sell it for you, again, notice, for higher than what they bought it for. So 0.49 there. And we've got Australian dollars, we've got Canadian dollars as well. Just in case you didn't realize, it is Canadian dollars, but they are different than U.S. dollars. So if you've ever noticed that, like on a magazine, it'll have the U.S. price and the Canadian price, it's not that it costs more in Canada, it's the conversion. The U.S. dollar is worth more than the Canadian dollar, which is why the Canadian dollar is a larger price. All right, so for example, let's say that we have that $800 that we talked about. Well, actually, we didn't talk about that before, but let's say we have $800 and we want to convert that into pounds for our trip. We would take $800 times 0.48, and we would be given 384 pounds from the broker. Now, when we go to leave, if we want to sell that, let's say we didn't use any of our money and we want to sell that money back, we're going to take 384 and we're going to divide it by 0.49. We're going back to our U.S. dollars, and we end up with $783.67. So in that case, we actually did nothing. We sold that money, or we bought those pounds and then sold those pounds, and we lost money in the process. Okay. That's why you actually should only convert the money really as you need it. Because for one, the price of the money may change, and two, you don't want to be out your money there. Now, sometimes instead of buying and selling, having a buying and selling price, they just have a commission. So they'll convert your money at whatever the current conversion rate is, but then they have a commission. So the typical commission is about 2.5% of the total amount of the currency that you're converting. And so that means that you're actually really only going to get 97.5% of that money. So let's say that we've got that $800 again that we're going to convert into U.S. pounds, into Great Britain pounds, and we've got a commission of 2.5%. Now, the table there at the beginning of our lesson said that a U.S. dollar was equal to 0.51, so let's use that conversion there. So we're going to take $800 times 0.51, and that's going to give me 408 exactly of the Great Britain pounds. But I'm not going to get the $408 because they have to take out their commission. So again, 2.5%. If you subtract that from 100, you get 97.5%. So we're going to take our $408 pounds times 0.975. Okay, your calculators do not have a percent button on them, the graphing calculators, so you have to know how to change that to a percent. So that's going to equal, in my pounds, $397.80. Now, it's been a long time since I've been abroad, but one thing I will say is I can remember that there are some vendors that will take U.S. dollars instead of taking their currency because they will wait until the dollar is high. So they actually can maybe make more money than if they had accepted it in the Great Britain pounds, whatever. Okay. Now, I told you this earlier. Again, unless you're told otherwise, always give your money there with 2 decimal places. All right, so 2 more examples here. Anya is traveling to England, from Ireland to England. Once she gets to England, she needs to change 1,200 euros into Great Britain pounds. She has 2 choices. Which bank is going to be the best? So Bank A charges a commission. Bank B has a buying and selling rate. So one thing I noticed here, Ireland uses their euro symbol at the beginning of their number. We're going to look at France here in a minute. France puts their euro symbol at the end of their money. So the 1.6 commission and the exchange rate. Okay, so we've got our 1,200 euros. We've got our exchange rate here. So we're going to take 1,200 times the super long exchange rate. Now, I got this example from another book, so I'm not sure how many decimal places that they normally go with exchange rates, but this one has quite a few. That's going to be 1,021.78. Now, we have a 1.6% commission, which means I'm going to get 98.4%. Sorry, let's write that up here. 98.4%. Again, I just subtracted from 100 to get that. So I'm going to take that 1,021.78 times 0.984, and that's going to give me $1,005.43, and that's going to be in my Great Britain pounds. Okay, so Bank A. Bank B, we've got our buying and selling rate, so we're going to buy some pounds. So we're going to take 1,200 times 0.87504, and that's going to give me 1,050.05. Now on my paper I had that Bank A is the best because I kind of inverted my last 2 numbers there. It's 1,050, not 1,005, so this one's actually better by quite a bit. We definitely want to go to Bank B. And put our symbol on there. Alrighty. So last one here, we have SJORS. I have no idea what that name is. That was one I took from another book. But I'm assuming that it's a Swedish name. He's withdrawing 8,000 Swedish kroner from his savings and converting it to euros. The local bank's going to buy his kroners at 0.11 euros and sell them at 0.121 euros. So how much will he receive in euros? So we're going to take our 8,000 times 0.111, and that's going to be 888 euros. Now, poor Svors, or whatever his name is, his trip got canceled. So he didn't need those euros after all. He's going to change them back. So how much will he receive if he changes that amount back? So 888 euros. Now we're going to divide that by the selling rate, so 0.121, and that's going to be 7338.84. And that's going to be in my Swedish kronar, whatever that symbol happens to be. Now, how much did he lose after those two transactions? He had 8,000, and we now only have this much. So he lost 661.16 of his kroner. Now, I have no idea how much that really is. It's either way, it seems sad. That seems like a big number to have lost. Okay. All right, there you go.